Alright, I might have one more little piece of gold here. And this might be uh, the last thing. Hmm, It's something that person said to me, and I looked into it, and it led me into a rabbit hole, actually. Going back into World War One with, um, what was it? Yugoslavia, and let me figure out what it was. Serbia and the surrounding countries. Um, Eventually, they had went into, or at least some of them, I think, went into like some communist stuff, Marxist Leninism. And eventually, I ended up, you know, uh, over at Mikhail Gorbachev, and he was a Marxist Leninist that uh, broke away from Marxist Leninism, but he kept true to, I think, Lenin. Yeah, Leninism. But he redefined it as, well, he realized there was some flaws within it and developed it into social democracy, is what he calls it. Now, he did have uh, a disagreement, I would say, with other Leninists or other um, people that probably still adhere to that and other democratic principles that are ultimately considered managed democracy, which is what Russia is. It's a managed democratic based country, so it's not really democracy. He had a disagreement there. So he ultimately kind of dipped out on that scene because he believed in pure, uh, I guess maybe Marxist slash Leninist democracy, but real democracy, which doesn't exist. So that ultimately went from, communist, socialist ideals into a new disguise under social democracy. Uh, I guess the Union of Social Democrats. That uh, Let me see who else was part of that. Hmm. Um, I don't know, but then you have Vladimir Putin, ex KGB, ex ideologue, that is trying to implement what is called sovereign democracy, which is just another guise that Vladislav Surkov implemented, and he was Vladimir Putin's underling. So I'm pretty sure that this is basically the same thing going on in the United States with what the Democrats are doing, um, because under Putin and what was his name again, Surkov, yeah, Vladislav Surkov. Um, what he would do, he would find many different political oppositions and different private and public sector structures and just create chaos and confusion. And this is how they're trying to maintain their power and implement their ideological um, proceedings or whatever, you know, and maintain power. Because like they'll fund oligarchy one minute and fund freedom fighters or some shit the next minute. And you see this exact thing going on in the Democratic Party, except the right wing is staunchly pro-American, pro-American values, but the Democratic Party basically funds all of these different ideological things. They call themselves social democrats sometimes. There's very different things going on. And I'm pretty sure Obama was in lieu with Putin on some of these things. And maybe even Trump was possibly involved in some way. And, you know, if you understood the ideological aspects of these things going on and why nobody's really talking about it or doing anything, you know, that is disillusioning anybody to anything going on. There is a word I want to bring up. Intersectional politics. So that's basically, alright, so main idea of intersectionality. Intersectionality is the acknowledgement that everyone has their own unique experiences of discrimination and oppression, and you must consider everything and anything that can marginalize people: gender, race, class, sexual orientation, physical ability, etc. But there is also a deeper level of intersectionality where it's not even, most of that shit's not even based upon anything that is factual. It's just materialist Marxism. Like, okay, black people might make less money on average than a white person, but black people also ended up in a ghetto, and there's many things that led them into making less. Not that a black person is discriminated against more, just that they are in a tougher, unique situation that prevents them from being able to have the same opportunity. But, you know, they go into like equal opportunity or equity, you know, different stuff like that, and it gets very complicated. But the transactional or intersectional politics also invites basically Muslims who are completely un-American, completely separatist. Their ideology would be, if they could, they would take over America and enslave the entire population. And that is their religious beliefs. That's Islam, not specifically Muslim. I don't know if you consider Muslim a race or a religion, but I consider the religion Islam and the race Middle Eastern. But Muslim may mean something else. You know, I don't care. That's my definition here. So that is also an ally of the Democratic Party, somebody who would have us killed. You know, they're making allies with all of America's enemies. And that includes the social democratic idea that is based around Marxist Leninism, that it derives from that, but it is in disguise. And you can see, like with BLM, the founder themselves said that they are Marxist Leninists or Marxists, and the Democrats are friends with them. They love them. You know, they support them, protect them from bad media and all this stuff, you know, and then they demonize any dissidents and stuff such as that. So, basically, you know, Antifa, BLM, all these other groups, you know, even Acorn during Obama's period, maybe even Black Panthers or something, you know, stuff from way back when, during the Cold War up till recent days. Even normal leftist stuff has been indoctrinated with Marxist propaganda. and materialist propaganda that ignores reality. Like I was saying with, you know, how the Democratic Party basically created these ghettos, never helped the black people, then made the police get aggressive on crime for political advantage, basically, just to look good and keep the power of the cities to seem like they were doing something. So they got tough on the crime. Then, that held black people down even more because, the police became disaffected, the blacks were disaffected, they both lost compassion. You have gangs like shooting up police and police shooting up gangs. And then, the police would be more rough with black people in those areas because they're dealing with violent criminals that would kill them in a heartbeat, And that's something that's completely ignored, just to say, oh, these cops are racist pigs. They hate black people. They want to kill them all, Which some of them, maybe one or two here and there, might want to do that just because of the shit that they've dealt with and seen in the inner city. Maybe some of them became even, racist ideologues. But I've talked to some, and they're just idiots overall. Just some stupid, entitled, nurtured and sheltered white boy, usually. But, what was I getting at? Anyways, all of that makes sense, but just they would look at the results of the disproportionate numbers of like, okay, this many black people are in prison, so it must be racism. And that's like the most stupid thing you could ever say. There's like thousands upon thousands of reasons that disproportion exists. And most of it is just that they commit crime more. They're more impoverished. They rely on worse means to get by in life. And a lot of that is breaking the law. And that gets them put in prison or in jail. And a lot of them fall into that. It's like going into a trailer park in Mississippi. Yeah, people from trailer parks often end up in prison more. They often end up in gangs more. And different stuff like that. Or, they're often worse people because they get raised wrong, because the people who are raising them are generally been raised wrong themselves, or struggle and, have anger problems due to their situations and various things that it culminates a bad child that would lean into that stuff. I mean, it's not inherently a bad child. It's just that they would lean towards that and develop maybe their own gang or something. Just like other means to get by, to get ahead from that situation, other than, doing what they should to pull themselves out of that situation. So, overall, that is one example out of possibly thousands where Marxist ideology ignores reality 100% and ignores the social implications of many different events that culminated into this scenario that created this scenario that looks a certain way, and then they just call it racist, and then they get a whole bunch of people behind them, and now everybody hates and wants to defund the police. But they are smarter than that. They are doing this intentionally. It is a political game. It's for power and control, and to mind control people, basically. It's brainwashing. It's propaganda. And it would even go into like the gender wage gap, which has like so many thousands upon thousands of variables of why there is a difference. And none of it has to do with discrimination. None of it. And you can go look it up. You can go study it. But just taking those results and then saying, oh, it's discrimination, sexism, misogyny, the patriarchy. That is, again, they are smarter than that. and they are lying. They're just lying. They don't know, or they do know, and they are spreading propaganda for power, political power, and to confuse people. So the whole point is that it is the same types of stuff going on in Russia, except they have to defeat the old guard right now. They have to uh, brainwash the younger generations, which I think it was Ivanov something Yokovich Bloch. I don't know. It was an ex-KGB spy that, even Russia tried to say that, oh, he didn't have nothing to do with KGB, but he saw all the inner workings and he explained everything that was going on perfectly. So he probably definitely was KGB. He knew everything going on. So basically, he was warning that this stuff would go on. They'd demoralize the nation. They'd spread so many false ideologies and uprise so many false ideological views and perceptions and various wrong information that nobody would understand what's going on. And you would dumb down society, which pop culture has done that very well. The left is all together in it all together. They're uh, basically comrades, you'd say. So anything that any leftist does is generally supported by the rest, and it is something that is intentional, even if it seems like it's not something that you support. It is part of the confusion, part of the problem. You might not agree with the riots, but that is your party. That is your party. That's the rhetoric that your party has spread intently and has funded, and many things. And it's possibly even Russia involvement, because Russia does the same things. Because this is how Putin manages democracy in his own country. This is how Sorbukev, or whatever the hell it was, did things. This is part of the power struggle. And, you can study into this stuff. I left names of different things that brings it into perspective. I'm not really going to study it very deeply because, I don't need to. I already know that none of it matters, and the right message to hopefully wake people up. And whether you're right wing or left wing, you should be worried that your party is corrupt and brainwashed, or fucking deceived, propagandized. Because even the right wing, they're falling directly into the trap, and the left wing, they're the ones that are eating up the propaganda. The right wing doesn't quite understand everything, but this is all the information that anybody needs to go off of. You don't have to believe in my axioms or any of that, but I would say that discerning all of it all together and figuring out, maybe modern axioms are 100% incorrect or something like that, because I can tell how a person develops himself since even, a baby, because I can discern how I just built myself up into who I was, my fetishes and stuff. It wasn't like, oh, it's some natural thing. There's always an explanation. Whether you're leaning on biblical stuff, and it doesn't matter who you are, whether you're homosexual, transgender, pedophile, schizophrenic, bipolar, all of this stuff is the human brain and interpreting things, and maybe natural inclinations off of previous experiences and interpretations based off of those experiences that would push you into leaning some certain way. And then also, even IQ and stuff. I don't believe in that because I believe in neuroplasticity for one, cognitive learning, and I believe that uh, how you are raised to believe certain things and how certain things create a bigger picture for you would determine your capability to even learn and perceive things in certain ways to be able to increase your IQ in the first place or learn or anything. Um, I just think that people have been deceived on almost every level, because it probably sounds crazy and I don't care, but you know, this stuff has been going on since forever, and you can look at any brain thing that they say is the brain, and you can see any of them who turn into a Christian and fully believe and trust God, they will tell you the same exact thing. You know, I'm not this anymore, and that's not how it really is. So that should scare you. That's something. It's not just me. It's thousands upon thousands, maybe millions of people that will say this. And just because modern science wants to say, "Oh, it's this," and then ignore the rest of everything, and base it on something that they could never figure out, that maybe they don't know what the fuck they're talking about, and maybe somebody else might. And I wouldn't say I'm like deciphering something that is hidden. It's all very obvious, very simple, and people of old have all said it. People from ancient times have all known this. It's not a mystery. It's not. It's definitely not a mystery. It is only modern intellectuals that think this shit. Um, they think they figured everything out, but they're really just idiots. They've deceived themselves with their own intellect. And, like psychology in itself, as a standalone, ignores theology. It ignores beliefs. It ignores other various things within reality, like philosophy, that is very important. You can say, oh, there's an off chemical, and this neuron keeps triggering, like a cycle, you know? Um, that doesn't mean anything. Uh, do you have to understand every single thought that's gone through someone's mind, or every single thing that built up, every single reaction, before you finally realize that, oh, it's not the brain, it's the mind, it's the consciousness that fucking built this up? I mean, how fucking stupid do you have to be? And there is so many incentives for them to keep pushing this, and pharmaceutical companies, they make a lot of money off of it. Oh, something's wrong with your mind, here's some pills. All of this stuff falls back into Satan deceiving the world. And it's all very simple if you simplify everything. Who was it that did 1984? George Orwell. Um, he knew that things would become very deceptive, the truth would be hidden, and all these things, and it would be uh, intellectuals trying to control the minds of the lower populace and create a hierarchy of slaves, basically. And that's basically what we got. We got a dystopia on our hands, and you can believe whatever you want, but I know for certain because if my sexuality was based upon my brain, then why do I not experience those instincts anymore? Now that I've figured out that, oh, that's not healthy. Um, you know, if you want to stay a lower mind, living by your instincts like an animal, then recognize that you're an animal. You're just an animal, and you don't have to think so, but I know so. If you want to live by that, then yeah, you're an animal. Um, Christian children that are raised properly, they'll never fall into that. They'll never fall into lust, regardless of what you think people's instincts are. Um, if you want to justify it, then yeah, you'll believe that that's your instincts. Um, but uh, that's just not how it works. So basically, if you want to be unenlightened, postmodernist, materialist, atheist, then your worldview is going to develop into only one thing, and you're going to be a controlled puppet by these social democrats, and you're going to fall for all of their propaganda, and you're never going to get anywhere. And if you want to be something else, then there's only a few choices. Uh, because within theology, there's only a few things that ultimately uh, work completely within reality. And if you're going to involve yourself in the world, then there's only a few ways to do so. And, one is to adhere to that screwed up party that will deceive and confuse everybody. That's likely run by Luciferians, because if you start listening to this music and discerning what people are saying, then that's basically what they're saying. Like, these people are evil, deceptive, and fucked up people. And then you also have all these evil artists that are directly Luciferian or Satanist and all this that are writing fucked up shit, like, oh, let's all go to hell. And they're all happy. you know. So, um, it's basically that. And then the other side is basically Christians, or, people who believe in enlightenment, value system, and pro-American generally, pro-freedom, uh, independent liberties, independent minds, non-collective unless it's about basically Christianity as a collective, or American as a collective, and not uh, oppressor and oppressed, because that is a Marxist talking point. That is Marxist-Leninism. They just renegotiated it, rephrased everything, and they're still pushing for it. All of their allies are basically um, eating it up. So, yeah, there's only one way the country's going to go, and you better be ready for war. Because I don't think that me doing this is going to reach anywhere. I don't think anybody's going to care. Um, I don't think anyone's going to take it serious. And it's already too late. Even if all this information got out there, all it would do is lead to war. you know? Um, and then the main aspect of this is that all these world leaders are very privy to each other's ideologies, and very understanding of various things going on in the world on deeper levels, So it's like peers amongst peers, kind of like in the music industry. If you want to get into the music industry, you go study what I was just talking about. They're all talking to each other, talking to you. They're telling, even Nirvana tells you how to uh, basically become famous. you know, he uh, he sat there and explained it. And then there's others that tell you how to be, how to do stuff, and how to get in, or even maybe get out, or how to be safe, or what to expect. Um, so that is peers amongst peers. That's the world. That's what they're talking about. That's who they are. So with politicians, it's much different because that's like the hidden level. If you if you know too much and you say too much, you're just going to be killed, or you're, you know, just lied about maybe. But not too many people know too much, and the ones who do, they know better than to say anything or do anything. So yeah, I mean, you don't have to take my word for it. I'm just telling you to go look. You know, think about it. You know.